Let me take you on a fun little video about how I made the shard hyperlapse loop that you all loved so much on my Instagram. You could call it a hyperloop, but I'm pretty sure that's trademarked by some idiots overseas. So I took my 360 camera with me to shoot some BTS content, and I had pre-planned a loop around the shard. People are like, how did you plan it? Well, we have Google Maps, we have Street View, we have Satellite View, so I did not too much research. I just roughly painted a circle around the shard and then looked for spots that would give me a clear point of view. It's a pretty big building, so it's pretty easy to spot from many viewpoints and streets, but it still took me a little while to do that, and then I kind of just used that as a rough guide once I had enough spots. I was planning around 20 photos or 20 spots, and I knew that in between I would find some other spots as well. So I overshot my images, that way I could choose the best images for the end resulting sequence. And this is the layout of the path. Let's go shoot. As I mentioned, 360 camera, pretty fun to bring with me to walk through the crowds, get some different POV shots of me, going through all the tourists. Now that COVID's done, it's gone forever, there's a lot of people out there. So yeah, let's cut to some of the photos that I took. This is where I realized that I took the wrong way. I should have gone up the stairs because my POV is on that bridge, not down here. So I've got to loop back around and find the staircase, which is here. Again, overshot it, as you can see. Didn't cover too much distance there. It's nice to shoot between buildings and from parks, etc. And once again, really fun to have that 360 camera to get these shots, and I don't need a second shooter. Sorry, Pete. No, I do need you. It's much more fun to shoot with two people. But yeah, this is south side. I think this is spot 17-ish, and I was almost there. And also the fun bit of filming yourself is you gotta turn around. You're gonna fake the whole shot and then turn around and grab the camera. Once again, walking to the beat. This is me at the end, at spot 20 or however many I had, shooting one of the last photos. I forgot to put my tracker on, so that's not the entire distance, but that's the route I followed if anybody wants to copy it. Now let's get into post-production, shall we? First of all, I loaded the raw files into Adobe Lightroom to give them a color grade, because I shot on shutter speed priority, so some of the exposures were up and down depending on how much other stuff is in the photo because of light metering. I kind of optically, with my eyeballs, equalized the exposure, then exported a sequence of JPEG photos. Why JPEG photos? They're just more lightweight and easier to work with, because I knew I had to do a lot of work in After Effects right after this to stabilize them, and this happens in a few parts. Warp Stabilizer doesn't work for stuff like this. You need to manually adjust every single frame, which is why I didn't plan on shooting hundreds. Just, I don't know, between 20 and 40 was my plan. As you can see here, Warp Stabilizer, letting that run with a mask, which is a technique I teach you in the Ultimate Timelapse course or my Hyperlapse course, just did not work at all. Then I enabled the crosshair and manually adjusted the position parameters of each photo using keyframes so that the crosshair would line up with one of the spikes on the shard. That way I have one position completely the same in every photo. The next step then is to change the anchor point of that sequence onto that one spike that you know is always going to be in the same spot, and then you're going to try and adjust your rotation. So you have, first of all, your position of one point, then you adjust your anchor point and your rotation, and then once your rotation is dialed in, the sequence looks good, but because I was moving to and from the shard a lot, I didn't like how the scale changed, so I decided to use another guide, paired with the anchor point, and I found one rim on the shard that had an unlit floor, I guess, and I used that to equalize the scale of the shard so that it would be locked on and not like moving back and forth. Then I had to do some more adjustments for the rotation using some more guides, just fine-tuning things. I'm a bit of a perfectionist. It's not a perfect sequence, by the way, but I believe, as many of you know, that published and good is better than perfect and never launched or never published or whatever. But yeah, this is me doing the final adjustments. And after that, I added a mask around the shard, and then I added motion blur, or actually just directional blur with a bit of feathering, so that the shard is always sharp, but everything around it is directionally blurred. So here's the sequence straight out of camera. As you can see, not too bad. Like, I could probably post that and people would think that's pretty cool. But I wanted to step it up. So what's next? Next is stabilizing the top of the shard. As you can see, that is now pretty sturdy. And this is also the full sequence. Then I added the motion blur, and then I started deleting the frames that didn't add to the flow of the image. I wanted it to be at the same speed, which is what we're getting at now. This is the finished shot. So the shard is smack dab in the middle, solid, doesn't rotate, keeps the same scale, has the motion blur around it. And that's that. I think I will use this project as a separate tutorial series on my time-lapse courses. Got the Hyperlapse course, which comes from the Ultimate Time-Lapse course, which teaches you much more. They're linked down below. I'll do maybe a full breakdown with a set of videos about how I made this, so you can learn how to do that yourself, because this isn't really a tutorial, it's just more of a bit of a behind-the-scenes process, which I hope you enjoyed. Thanks for being here. What building should I do next? There's quite a few tall buildings in London, but none as singular as the Shard. So I'm already looking at one other building which is pretty built around, which is going to be a challenge. But hey, love a good challenge, right? I did this because I was feeling a little bit creatively uninspired, unmotivated, and I decided to push myself. And I'm very glad I did, because the feedback on it's been great. I learned a few things while doing this, which I'm sharing with you, and I had fun doing it. So, thanks for being here. May the clouds forever be in your favor. Bye-bye. Buy my course.